Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Gigawatts. I am Peter, that is Connor. This is our weekly movie news show, and we are a day late. Do you know what? It's only a day later than we normally do, because normally we record this Sunday, it goes up Monday. Now we're recording it on Monday, it goes up Tuesday. We're just late because the scheduling weekend was hell. But it feels really late, even though the new TV news was 2 days late, because there's something about just doing it after the weekend that feels like, oh, we're in the next week. Yeah, we missed the boat on that week of news. It's weird, but hey,
yeah, it's literally like less than 24 hours later.
But still, it feels weird. But hey, so yeah, we're going to talk about movie news. We have a comic book movie section, we have a horror movie section, we have the general section. We talk about box office, and we might talk about films we watched during the week at the end of the show if we did watch any that weren't for review purposes. Because if we reviewed them, there's no point in talking about them here. You can go and watch the full discussions and so on, or we'll be able to in the coming weeks. So that's what we do. That is the show. So starting off with box office, we made some predictions last week for two films. Happy Time Murders opened, and we also made predictions for the second week of Crazy Rich Asians. So I'll remind us of what we said last week.
Please, because I remember being optimistically harsh on Happy Time Murders.
Happy Time Murders, I guessed 19, you guessed 11. And then for Crazy Rich Asians, which we both thought was going to be higher, I said 20 and you said 17.5. I'm happy to report that number one was Crazy Rich Asians with 24 million.
I'm not even annoyed that you won. I'm just glad that it was number one.
It's worth mentioning that is a drop of 6.4% from last week. Do you know what? That was my guess last week. I mean, obviously I went a little bit lower, but I went from 25 million to 20. But my guess was it's getting a lot of good buzz for people who like these types of movies. It's getting obviously a lot of good buzz for its diversity. I thought, you know what? I think this is going to have really good legs and not drop that much because it's not a high number to hit again. I mean, relatively speaking, 25 million is not a hard number to hit a second time. Whereas that movie opens at 150 million, it's not going to hit that next week. Sure enough, it did even better than what we said. It 24.8 million, only 6.4% down.
Yeah, because I was a little bit lower than you with 17.5, but that's not much lower. That is impressively small.
So that's
drop.
finding its audience. So good for Crazy Rich Asians. Although not good for actual Crazy Rich Asians because I want to be rich. Stop being rich. Give me some of your money, please. Thank you. Number 2 was The Meg.
With
this 12.8 million.
This really pleases me.
That's its third weekend.
So I've
definitely won Happy Time Murders. Happy Time Murders was number 3. It bombed with 9.5 million. Didn't even get to double digits.
Yes, I said what, 11?
You said 11, yes.
Okay, no, I'll take that. I thought I was being overly harsh on it with 11.
It's a stinker. It's getting terrible reviews. No one went to see it. It looks like garbage, and it bombed. Haha. Good.
I just want to laugh at the IGN review. I skimmed it.
Did you make sure it wasn't plagiarized from somewhere else?
I did not, but honestly, if it was, then they've got an excuse for some awful writing. Because early on in the review, they go, it's not nuanced, but it's fine. And then, like 3 paragraphs later, they're like, it's surprisingly nuanced. I'm like, well, make up your mind. Which one bloody is it? Is it blunt or nuanced?
The Friends opening song. Because it starts off with "No one told me life was going to be this way," and then in the second bit it says, "My mum always told me there'd be days like this." I'm like,
yeah.
Which one is it? Someone told you life was going to be like this, or someone didn't?
But I assume that's intentionally ironic, whereas this is sloppy writing.
I'm not getting irony from it, but fair enough.
To be fair, irony is a hard thing to convey in song lyrics.
Yeah, you just sing it properly. just have that tinge of sarcasm as you say one of them.
Fair enough, but when you're singing it straight, which it can be done even with ironic lyrics, it's harder.
Hey, it's not like I sit and listen to Shiny Happy People from REM and think, oh, this is just taken seriously and straight. The irony is clear. It's very possible. So I'm criticizing that song, which is and if you didn't get my plagiarism jab, IGN had a big thing recently where one of the game reviewers turned out to be a major plagiarist, and they had to scrub all of his reviews from the site. And
Yeah, he's really shot himself in the foot. That guy. He was their Nintendo editor. The last two Nintendo editors at IGN went on to work for Nintendo, and the two before that worked for Apple.
yeah,
So
the thing is, they caught him plagiarizing this one review because it's hard to notice unless someone who specifically knows one other review catches it, right? But once they caught it, he dared the internet to find more examples, and do you know what they did? They found dozens and dozens of examples.
The worst part is he called out a specific journalist who works for Kotaku, who is famous for being really reliable and digging shit up. Like he's the guy called all these major delays, like weeks.
He's a sleuth.
He's the guy who talked about Fallout 4. He was the one who talked about Fallout 4 having a voice protagonist a year before that was revealed.
He sleuths things out.
Yeah. He's got connections. He's pretty good at this stuff. That's the guy you don't want to dare to go and look at your previous work and go.
What was interesting though is that while they were scrubbing the site, they were clearly paying attention to the internet, like talking about all this, because people started finding other things for IGN to be embarrassed about, and one in particular was an article from 2005 about Jessica Chobot. If you don't know who Jessica Chobot is, she got kind of semi-famous on the internet for licking a PSP back in the mid 2000s, but she's known more now for being a presenter. She worked at IGN for a long time actually after this, and I think where's she now? She's Nerdist, I would say.
Nerdist?
Yeah, I think she's the Nerdist.
Something like that. Yeah, one of those
stuff for the Nerdist. But there's an article from 2005 interviewing her, and the interview, I mean, I never read the interview, but the introduction to this interview was the most cringe-worthy thing I have ever read. The writer was saying phrases like, the nerdy woman, the perfect woman who likes anime, she exists. This queen exists. I have found this perfect woman. Her name is Jessica Chobot. And it was like 3 paragraphs of just outright, like, embarrassing writing. And it was like, and the funny thing is, people started talking about this on the internet. They took it down off the site. Like, later that day, it was gone. And it's like, they're scrubbing their shady past. I'm like, this is so funny.
No, to be fair though, I can't excuse that one, but with the plagiarism thing, they treated it pretty well. Like, okay, it was consistent, but I don't blame any editor for
what
for
are they
IGN
supposed to do?
not
Read every other
catching
review that's coming out across the internet?
Right, exactly. So they found out, they investigated, and they're taking it down and re-review. What more can you ask,
that's the thing
right?
people don't realise is that they have to re-review most of the games they did because, as they put it, they owe that to the publishers who sent them review copies to have like content on the site saying, "Hey, this is."
So now they're paying another reviewer to do everything twice. That's for years of work.
No, it's the whole thing. So plagiarism is bad, folks. Don't do it. But no. So how did we even get onto that? I feel like you mentioned IGN and then I cracked a jab.
About
plagiarism, and then I feel like I had to explain that because I feel like I have to assume that a lot of our audience aren't gaming people and therefore weren't in the loop for that. So I wanted to explain that.
Fun story.
It's interesting, but I couldn't. And just one final point I want to make on that. So if you've heard of Gamergate, right, and there's like Comicsgate as well, right, and it's the bigots claiming their whole tirades about ethics in games journalism or comics journalism for if you're going with the comics, right? It's like, oh no, complaining about critiques of anything that they see as quote unquote SJW, right? That's what Gamergate are about. And they always said, no, this is not sexism or homophobia or whatever. This is about ethics in game journalism. This story breaks about a guy in IGN plagiarizing all of his reviews that is recognized by the company. He is fired. They are scrubbing the site. Everyone's talking about this and how much of a dirtbag he is. Not a peep out of Gamergate, where this is legitimately about ethics in journalism. This is ethics.
Yes, this is exactly
what it is. Not a peep, because he's a white dude, right? He's a straight white dude, therefore not a peep. I'm just saying, I'm pointing out the hypocrisy, right? We knew it was all bullshit anyway. I'm just saying, here's your Yeah,
It's
here's
nice
your
to have a clear
example.
example, right?
Anyway, number 4 on the top 10 last weekend, or this weekend, was Mission Impossible Fallout with 8 million. Number 5 was Mail 22 with 6.3 million. Number 6 was Disney's Christopher Robin with 6.2 million. Number 7 was Alpha with 6 million. Number 8 was Black Klansman with 5 million. Number 9 was Slender Man with 2.7 million, and number 10 was AXL with 2.7 million. Let's see what Mission Impossible's doing worldwide. Although I hear the Meg's doing well as well. Let's have a look at that. Mission Impossible is at 538 million worldwide, so it's winding down now. Probably scraped about 550 or so. Respectable.
Very
that
respectable.
franchise, I think that's the highest that franchise has had, so they're pretty happy with that. So expect number 7 at some point. Do you know what's really funny to me is that it's taken a long time, but we're finally getting to the point where mainstream movie franchises are starting to get to the Friday the 13th level of sequels, and that really makes me laugh.
No, you're right. For a long time, high numbers were exclusive to horror franchises. Your Friday the 13th,
yeah, and even when you think, and obviously, especially when you count reboots, which you do, because even with Friday the 13th, I still count the remake as the 12th one. Like even like superhero movies, like Batman. Now you had the 4 movies, then 3, so 7. So this is the 8th one coming up, or 9 if you include the 60s one.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd count that one.
I guess you could. I don't know. It feels, cause that was like a TV like spin-off though, so it's kind of murky.
Yeah, but it was still a theatrical release.
Sure.
Movie.
But if I can discount that one, I'll discount it.
It counts. Shame on you. It's the best one.
Yeah, the Meg is made over 400 million. The Meg's doing well. It's a big ass shark. Jason Statham's got the star power. Having the shark. Doing fine. But that's the box office, folks. That's the box office. So, honestly, there's nothing to actually make guesses for next week. There's no new releases. I guess the only interesting thing would maybe to try and guess the third weekend of Crazy Rich Asians, just because it has such good legs. Let's see if we can do Crazy Rich Asians, especially since it has almost no competition next week.
That's true. Do you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'm going to stick with my guess from last week of 17.5. All right.
I am going to say 19. I'm going to go one less than what I said last week. I think it'll be a really good hold again, which is that's an amazing hold for week 2 to 3 as well.
I actually think it'll be a very good hold, but I just thought,
hey, 17.5 is still a good hold for a third week after
It is. It would have been a respectable second
but
week.
Here we are. This is going to do Avatar numbers. It's just going to stay at 24 million for like 3 months.
It's going to be in theaters for a year.
And then I don't know if the director's Asian, but he's going to be crazy rich by the time it's done.
Oh, he will.
Anyway, so we'll move on to news. We'll start with comic book stuff as we typically do, comic book movies. So this was just today. Usually we don't have news from Mondays until the following news, but because we're recording late, Alec Baldwin has joined the Joker film, the Todd Phillips directed Joaquin Phoenix film. Warner Bros. Actually hasn't officially said who he's playing yet, but the scuttlebutt is that he's playing Thomas Wayne.
I'm okay with that casting.
I have nothing against the casting. I do have some questions about why Thomas Wayne specifically is in the movie.
Yeah, could be flashbacks.
Well, it's supposed to be an origin, right?
Oh,
so is like Thomas Wayne just like a big figure in Gotham, and we see him like doing things?
But I mean, so hang on. It's a Joker origin, but you're saying here you're positing Thomas Wayne is alive and doing stuff
for that timeline.
So you're telling me that the Joker has his origin before Batman.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was thinking, Joker just around before Batman. Yeah, typically Joker comes second. And again, who knows what this movie will do?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm questioning it, but it's not impossible that is the case.
I mean, how else do you have Thomas Wayne around then? And why have flashbacks? Unless he's involved with another character, and we get flashbacks for that character, and that's how Thomas Wayne pops up.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer.
Well, here's the question: though, if Batman's
or why.
around, do we see any Batman at all in this movie?
know because they don't know if it's going to be Ben Affleck or not.
Oh, it's just weird. But hey, Alec Baldwin is the. Well, yeah, this is a weird movie. This is a weird thing that exists.
I don't know what's
It's
going on with
bizarre.
it. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't have it down here, but they had a shortlist this week as well for like Supergirl directors, and I think it's interesting again. They're pushing Supergirl, Batgirl, and Birds of Prey seem to be getting fair pushes in terms of development. So,
any notable names on the list? Or just...
No, I think it was like much like a lot of what we'd seen before. It was like TV directors who'd done like good TV shows, kind of getting a chance.
Sorry,
I think there was a Handmaid's Tale director on the list, which is that's not
definitely
a bad choice.
Be okay with that. Yeah.
So like I said, I don't have names in front of me, but it was like, but it was intriguing. I was like, it's nice to see that they're actually like pursuing talent for that, and it's moving along, and it's not just sitting there. So
yeah.
Hey, next up, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has been delayed. It's been taken off the schedule indefinitely. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean forever, but the pre-production crew that were assembled to start working on it, when James Gunn was still going to work on it, were officially told this week to, go home, basically.
Yeah, they were told they were free to work on other projects.
So it's on temporary hold while the studio searches for another director. But it seems like it's just taken off schedule, because we all assumed it was going to be the... When did Guardians 2?
2020.
Yeah, 2020, May 2020. I don't.
But I mean, it is worth noting that officially,
they never said
no
that, but we all kind of assumed that was going to be the date, and I think that's when it was going to be. I don't think it will be now. I think if it's in the next phase, it'll be later, because they'll shuffle things around now to accommodate the fact that this has had a kerfuffle.
Yeah.
To put it lightly.
Yes, quite the kerfuffle.
Disney making mistakes. I love seeing Disney make mistakes. You know that, I really do.
I love seeing all big corporations make mistakes.
That's fair.
It's really satisfying.
Disney especially, though, they basically just market themselves in lots of things that I don't love as much as other things. I prefer DC to Marvel, and Marvel has been kicking their ass in movies, so it's nice to see them make a blunder. Even though I like Guardians of the Galaxy and I like James Gunn, there's still a satisfaction that I get out of it.
I like a lot of Disney things, including Guardians of the Galaxy.
Star Wars can suck it, though. Just for the record.
And obviously I love Star Wars, but it's just nice to see corporations just, all right, okay, you did a shit thing. Yeah, all right, fine.
Do you know what I think is with Disney? I think they've been in such a role the last 5-10 years.
Just absolute domination of the industry.
It's kind of nice to see them mess up in a weird way.
It is. It's kind of an underdog thing, right? You want to see the big dog taken down a notch.
Which, by the way, I didn't even put this in, but we got a name for their streaming service.
We did.
Disney Play? It's such a non-story that I didn't even put it in.
Because it wasn't an announcement. It was just was it Iger just kind of mentioned Disney Play offhandedly, and they were like, I guess that's the name.
Studio, but whatever. I mean, I won't fight him on it.
Yeah.
So next up we have Legendary Entertainment has acquired the worldwide film rights to the acclaimed Oni Press graphic novel My Boyfriend is a Bear, written by Pamela 1B. It's not Reben maybe.
Was this book written just for Matt?
Art by Kat Faris. So Ryben will write the screenplay as well and executive produce. The story follows Nora, who after a succession of terrible boyfriends finds true love with the most unexpected of suitors, a 500-pound American black bear. They'll soon discover that the hipster neighbours, judgmental friends, and bear's impending need for hibernation will put their relationship to the ultimate test. I like that there's no other plot to this. It's literally just she's in a relationship with a bear, and everyone's kind of racist about the fact that she's dating a bear.
It's a rom-com, but
yes.
It's a bear. I'm kind of into it.
I feel like this has to be animated, right?
CG bear.
Otherwise, I'm going back to the Shape of Water concerns of they just don't justify the fact that she's banging a bear.
I assume it's going to be anthropomorphized. It's going to walk around on two legs.
Sure, because that makes it okay.
I'm not trying to judge it. I'm just trying to see how they make it slightly more palatable. Like I said, I think this is Matt's perfect movie.
I've never got the feeling from Matt that he wants to have sex with a bear, though.
No. but I think he'll just love
Okay.
the idea so much.
Next up, Cornel Mundruccio has been tapped to direct Inherit the Earth. This is a science fiction film that's been in development for several years at Sony. At one point, Mike Flanagan was attached to direct it. He, of course, did Ouija. Yeah, there you go. That's the word I was looking for. Ouija, Origin of Evil. I had to think about that there a lot.
Are we finished with the comic book stuff now?
Yeah.
Oh, this is.
In fact, I want to criticise the Variety article on this because it didn't tell me who wrote the comic book. It didn't tell me who published the comic book. I had to go find that out elsewhere. I had to go digging for that.
Shame on them.
Yes.
Credit your source. In this case, the source being the original material.
So yeah, Inherit the Earth was initially picked up as a spec script by the studio in 2011. So it's been in gestation for about 7 years. At the time, the film was described as centering on Earth's last survivor, a young girl, and a group of robots who protect her from a pack of highly evolved zombies. And it was inspired by a graphic novel. That's all the original article gave me. It's inspired by a graphic novel. Because at first I thought this was going into the regular section. I was like, oh, it's a comic book thing.
I think that's, it tells us. I actually put it and questioned if we'd moved on because it didn't sound like any of
the actual comic
comics.
was called Zombies vs Robots, and Inherit the Earth was the title of the first arc. It was an IDW book, and it was written by Chris Ryall and Ashley Wood. Potential.
Yeah.
I'm actually almost surprised they didn't go with Robots v Zombies. It seems like the sort of.
I think they want to be slightly more classic.
It's the cheesy name that would draw in the crowd, like the idiots. So like, oh, Robots v Zombies. We could watch that. But
yeah. I think the problem is it sounds a bit too much like a sci-fi channel movie.
Maybe they want this to be a bit more taken seriously, and they want a proper franchise out of it, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder though, would the second movie just be called whatever the second arc is, or would it be Inherit the Earth 2, whatever?
I don't think there'd be a 2.
Oh sure,
that would sound weird. But Inherit the Earth.
Using that as an example. I don't actually think there'll be a number either because the sequels never have numbers anymore.
That's true, but no, I think you go with Inherit the Earth :
Inherit the Earth. Zombies v Robots. That's the second one. That does take us on past the comic book stuff though into the general news. So Danny Boyle has left James Bond 25. On Twitter, the producers cited creative differences as to why he's leaving, and because of that, it's not officially been pushed yet, but the November 2019 release date is in jeopardy because they don't have a damn director. And it's only just over a year really when you think about it. We're almost at September.
Yeah, there'd have been time to shoot soonish.
So, as someone who doesn't care about James Bond, I don't care about this story, but this was a big thing for everyone else this week. So
it was. There was some scuttlebutt as to what the creative differences were. I don't know if you saw
what were the creative differences? He wanted a chicken to make love to James Bond, and Daniel Craig said no, and he's like, "Well, I'm out. If I don't get my chicken sex, I'm out."
No. Reportedly, producers wanted to kill James Bond and replace him. It's been likened to Doctor Who's regeneration to get in the next Bond to fill the slot of 007.
Right. Okay.
To reassign an in-universe reason,
and he's the one who didn't want to do that,
actor like we always do.
That's weird.
Apparently
I feel like I'd expect it to be the other way around. I'd expect the director to want to kill him for the big story. Like, no, I can do a lot with the death, and then the producer's like, no, don't kill him. We want to make more movies.
No, because they were like, no, we're going to make more movies anyway. We want to make it like I said, like Doctor Who. Of like, okay, let's give a reason to change actors. Just make it. That's been an unofficial theory for fans anyway over the years. That it's not the same Bond. It's just the time he got married and then the other one mourned it kind of ruined that a little bit. But whatever.
Also, didn't they imply in Skyfall that he was from Scotland, therefore kind of tying him into Connery?
Yes, his family home was in Scotland. I think was it who was it that got married? Was it Dalton who had the wife and that died? And then the next Bond in the film they were mourning the wife, which linked them. But people have obviously gone, oh yeah, 007, it's just a code, and James Bond.
This one, I feel like kill him, do it, be ballsy, and.
No, I agree. I'm sure it was that way around.
And set up, and that's why you can have your Lady Bond. You don't have to.
Yeah, I assume that his reason for not wanting to is it felt like he's being shoehorned into that story. Then he couldn't tell the story he
Yeah.
wanted to tell. He was like, "No, I've got to do this big death thing and replace," and it felt a bit sequel setup-y,
Yeah, I
maybe.
suppose that's fair. I'm not invested, but from an outside perspective, I'm like, yeah, kill him, sure, do it, go for it.
Even as someone who is
It's
invested,
different. You've
yeah,
had 24
sure.
movies with Bond already. Kill him.
Yeah, I'm okay. And let's be honest, they're still going to call it James Bond. They're going to go, "This is your code name now." It'll be
Yeah,
someone else, and they'll be like, "You're now James Bond."
but if it's a woman, do they change it slightly to like Jamie Bond or something? I don't know. Jane Jane
Jane.
Bond. There you go.
It's Jane. That's the one.
Jane
That's
Bond.
the one we use. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they were going to do with it, but also on slightly related, Idris Elba was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not doing
After all
Bond
that teasing on
this week."
Twitter, the prick.
It was just
Yeah.
after all that, I know. What a bloody cock
Yeah.
tease.
Still though, none of the openings of any James Bond films measure up to Friday the 13th Part 6, which does the walk across the screen and then he throws the machete. Or does he throw the machete or does he just swipe it? I can't remember. But it's the eye and then the blood comes down.
I get
great.
it. I get what you go. I've not seen this movie. I've not seen this opening, but
It's
I know
great.
exactly what you're
It's
describing.
better than the actual James Bonds. Fantastic. Anyway, so a bunch of quick casting bits. I've got a lot of little casting stories here. Just want to sort of run through these quickly. Dominic Monaghan has been cast in Star Wars Episode 9. He has, of course, worked with J.J. Abrams before in Lost. He was also in the Lord of the Rings movies, as well as The Hobbits.
Yes, he's now the, I believe, sixth actor, or maybe fifth, to be in both franchises.
Okay, cool.
It's cool. Yeah,
Well,
there's not
sure,
that
but
many.
is that as impressive as Bill Paxton being killed off by an alien, a
No, it's not.
predator, and a Terminator? I think not.
No, it's absolutely not as impressive.
Good.
I'm
Right,
agreeing
we can
with
move
you.
on with the lives. So that's him in Star Wars. Next up, John Hamm, Ed Harris, and Lewis Pullman have all been added to the cast of Top Gun Maverick. That's the Top Gun 2 that took 30 damn years to make. So that's cool. I like John Hamm. I like Ed Harris.
Yeah.
I'm not really familiar with Lewis Pullman off the top of my head, but
I mean,
not that I really care about Top Gun that much. Like I saw the movie for the first time like maybe 3 years ago. I didn't see it until I was like an adult already.
okay.
I
No,
liked the music
saw
a
it as
lot. It was
kid.
a super 80s soundtrack, which I liked. But the plot was whatever. It was fine. It didn't set my world on fire.
I think it's a really fun
Um,
movie.
I think
Personally.
it's one if I
have
saw it as a
blast
kid
with
and
it.
I grew up watching it, I'd probably like it a lot more. I think it's one that just didn't work as well
Yeah.
seeing it for the first time as an adult. But yeah, and then next up, more casting. John Lithgow has been cast as Roger Ailes in the Fox News movie from Annapurna. It's not titled yet. Charles Randolph is the one behind it. We know Charles Theron's going to play Megyn Kelly, so I like John Lithgow a lot. And
Me too. It'd be interesting to see him be nice and slimy.
Do you know what? I'm used to him being slimy, but in a fun way, where you're kind of like laughing at the sliminess. Whereas this is more of a serious slime. So
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's kind of in the wheelhouse, but just
I
with
feel
a
like
different edge.
he's obviously had some good praise for The Crown. I wonder if he's like, I ain't getting one more great dramatic movie role under me, before it's time to retire.
Do you know what the real problem
Mm-hmm.
is after that? Because he was phenomenal in The Crown, like phenomenal. But then Gary Oldman came in and took all his credit. All that thunder
That
for the
said,
Churchill performance.
not to discount his performance in season 4 of Dexter, where he did play like a vicious serial killer, which was good. And he has been villains before. He was a really good villain in Blowout, the Palma movie with John Travolta, which is basically the main character was a sound mixer and recorder. So it's probably the most Connors ever related to any character in any movie ever.
Not gonna lie, there was a whole bit of that movie where he's going over his mics and talking about them. I'm like,
Have you ever
I'm
actually
into
went out and recorded Foley sounds though? Because at one point in that movie, he's out like doing
Yes.
trees and stuff. He's like, "You done that?"
Yeah,
Okay.
I've done that. Yeah, I've done under the bridges,
Yeah.
under the
I
railways,
never did that
all
in
that
uni.
sort of
We
shit.
just used from a lot. Cause I wasn't doing sound specifically, but we had to use it. Obviously, we had to learn how to use it in the editing process. So,
No,
the
I've been out and
library.
done the
One of our
recordings.
in first year of uni, we took a scene from Up and dubbed all the voices ourselves and put all the sound effects back in. That was one of our exercises. We had to re-sound the movie using stuff, and we had fun with it. There was one point he stepped in a puddle, so we got the most ridiculous splash sound effect because it sounded like a T-Rex had stepped in a river.
See, I think it's funny because obviously for your course that would be you're
we're
proving
just
that you
this
can
for
do it.
fun. We're not.
Whereas me doing that would be like, yeah, this doesn't fit the scene. You're failing.
No, it was just a bit. It was about timing. It was about making sure it fit into the. Yeah,
just
basically.
technical ability.
And we were all doing some cheesy accents, and whatnot. And it was the same at one point. Like the house that was floating hit like a tree, and again the sound effect we put in was like a tree snapping in half. Again, everything sounded like it was from a kaiju movie. Is basically what we were doing.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway,
it's fun.
Aye, so yeah. So next up, speaking of casting, Emma Watson's joined Little Women from Greta Gerwig, and she's apparently replacing the role that Emma Stone was going to play because Emma Stone had promotional obligations for another film she's doing at Fox Searchlight called The Favourite, and it was clashing with the shooting schedule. All I'll say about this is not all Emmas are created equal.
No, and you know what? I like Emma Watson more than you do, but not as much as I like Emma Stone. There is a hierarchy of Emmas, and Stone is probably at the top.
I'd have to think if I can think of any more Emmas. She's definitely the most famous Emma right now.
Yeah.
Emma Roberts is coming in number 2 though. A Scream Queen.
I'm not.
I don't know who's coming next. Emma Watson's pretty close to the bottom of that list though for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Depends how big the list is. If it's out
of the record, we're talking about acting quality here. This is not ranking the attractiveness of these actresses. I want to make that clear because it kind of sounds like it. Which is not the intention. I think Emma Watson's a bad actress.
Yes. Coincidentally, might be the same order, but we were ranking acting.
Depends on my mood.
Fair enough.
I mean, Emma Watson's still close to the bottom. Don't get me wrong. It's the other two that may be close to my mood. Anyway, not to divulge this into sleazy who's hot talk. Let's move on.
Yes. No, we would never indulge.
We are sophisticated individuals.
We're professionals.
Wouldn't go that far. Next up, Parrot Pictures and Akiva Goldsman, Weed Roads Pictures have set Patrick Osborne to develop and direct Monument Valley, with the hope of launching an action CGI hybrid family franchise based on the game, the mobile game. Monument Valley. Have you played Monument Valley?
I have played it.
I have not.
Yeah.
But
I have. I'm trying to recall which one it was. I know I've definitely played it. Is that the one?
I think so. The mobile game is a sequel, and its sequel take place in a surreal landscape where established laws of space and time do not apply. The film will send contemporary live-action characters into the game's extraordinary mind-bending world.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that sounds like something where I don't. It doesn't sound like the game has a lot of plot. It sounds like it's got interesting mechanics, and we're going to send. Yeah.
It's just a little.
We're going to send
basically
people into a world that rotates and shifts and do something with that, which was fine.
Basically, Jumanji was a surprisingly big hit, and they went, we want in
Monument
on that.
Valley is a thing, so that's cool. Next up, Australian actress Samara Weaving from The Babysitter, which is a movie I like, which is why I know from that, has got the lead role in Fox Searchlight's upcoming thriller Ready or Not, which is going to shoot in the fall. The radio silence directing team of Tyler Gillette and Matt Battinelli-Olpin, what a name, is helming from a script by Guy Busick and Ryan Murphy. Is that Ryan Murphy of Scream Queens and your American Horror Story and whatnot? I don't know. Maybe
it may well be.
There's no reason why he can't be working on a movie, especially for Fox.
No, he has a TV deal with Netflix, but
yeah. Fox Searchlight picked up the rights for the project last year, in which a woman is invited on the night of her wedding by her new husband's rich, eccentric family to participate in a time-honoured tradition that turns into a lethal game with everyone fighting for their survival. I'm into it. Yeah,
sounds simple and fun.
But a bit of humour, a bit of bloodbath. Hell,
give me some of that Scream Queens
humour
in
would
there.
fit right well into that.
We're talking about Scream Queens a lot tonight.
I mean, this one made sense because it kind of, Ryan Murphy, the premise, And then other than that, it was just an unhealthy obsession with Emma Roberts, and that was it. So there we go.
Yes, yes.
All right, moving on then, something a bit more serious. Joe and Anthony Russo's upstart studio AGBO is moved into an exclusive negotiation for Cherry, a novel that was just published by first-time author Nico Walker. The book, which parallels the true life story of the author, a former army medic who returned from Iraq with extreme undiagnosed PTSD and fell into an opioid addiction and began robbing banks. He's got an eventful life, I'll say that much right now.
I can see why someone wanted this for a movie.
He was caught in 2011 and he's actually still in prison. In fact, part of the story of this, which was funny, is that obviously they've been on the phone to him in prison, sort of working out the deal. He's going to be released in 2020, so he's got a couple of years left in his sentence. So I'm assuming he didn't kill anyone if he's only, he's getting out so soon. Well, I'd hope so anyway.
About a decade, right? Presumably,
yeah, 8-9 years. Yeah,
armed robbery.
Yeah, armed robbery, but not hopefully not murder. But apart, so obviously people have been on the phone to him, developing the movie because it's his book and whatnot. Apparently they had this weird thing where he ran out of minutes that he's allowed to be on the phone, so they have to wait like a week again to phone him to talk about the movie. I thought it was funny.
That sounds so frustrating.
It's a thing. Anyway, so the book has been called Jesus' Son Meets Reservoir Dogs, a breakneck pace debut novel about love, war, bank robberies, and heroin. A young man from an affluent family marries his hometown girlfriend before joining the army and shipping off to Iraq. An army medic, and he's unprepared for the grisly reality that awaits him, and the rough and tumble nature of his fellow soldiers who smoke, huff computer duster, take painkillers, watch porn, and get gruesomely injured all too regularly. Regularly, that's one of those words I just can't say, so I'm not even going to attempt it again. Regularly. Regular's fine, I can say regular, but regularly.
It's the extra syllable.
By the time the soldier returns home, his PTSD rages. He's soon on drugs and in debt, and he finds an outlet in knocking off banks, a pursuit that forces him to focus and makes him feel the way he did in pressure combat situations. So that's interesting. That's an interesting part of this. That he almost wanted the thrill of being in danger, like he was in combat, by doing bank robberies.
Yeah, that's a pretty common thing with PTSD, right? Recreating the situation makes you relax almost because it's the
that's
familiar
an interesting
thing
motivation. I mean, obviously it says he was in debt, but maybe more so than the money. Yeah,
but it adds
Walker
to it,
robbed about a dozen banks and stole close to $40,000 over 4 months before he was finally caught in 2011. Despite a clear link between his extreme PTSD and his robbery spree, Walker was sent to jail. So presumably that means the lawyer tried to hey, he's unwell. This is not just like a bank robber.
Yeah. Essentially, an
there he turned his experience into a novel, which he hammered out on a typewriter of all things. He turned out pages to Matthew Johnson, a music producer and co-owner of Tyrant Books, who read Walker's story in the BuzzFeed article. A BuzzFeed article is leading to movies these days. It's insane. What a world we're living in.
Wow, what a world.
And he began sending him books and encouragement to write his own story. And Walker has found a literary voice that is drawing acclaim. So people seem to be approaching to it. Yeah, no, he's turning his life around. That's good, and obviously he's getting over his. And so what's funny about this? I mean, obviously it's sad that he went to prison and that his life went to this way. But I almost wonder if being in prison, away from the world, was actually almost what he needed to get over his issues.
I mean, not to be too serious, but isn't that kind of the point of prison? It's not just punishment,
I know.
It's rehabilitation. It's supposed to make you better.
Be, but what I was typically, that's not how people think of it normally, though. Let's be honest.
But I'm wondering, they should.
Forgetting the fact that he's in prison, just the idea that he needed to be in a bubble for a while to, and I imagine he got therapy in prison as well. I imagine he's got help.
Yeah, and it was the control was taken out of his hands, right? You're not. He's not making decisions for his life. So I know you're sitting here and you're doing this.
You can clearly see why someone wanted to make a movie out of this, and you can almost see the end of the movie absolutely. Where he's in the prison cell, and I can almost see the final moment where he picks up the typewriter and starts typing. Like that's the moment where you decide to do that. Was where you maybe not. Maybe you go further than that, but.
But I can see that.
Where he's finally convinced to that's the step in the right direction where he starts writing. But hey, so there you go. That's called Cherry. Next up, Stampede, Greg Silverman's newly formed entertainment media company, has optioned the film rights to Kevin Wignall's upcoming novel When We Were Lost. The book tells the story of 19 teenagers who survive a plane crash bound for Costa Rica. Costa Rica, I should say that properly. Part Lord of the Flies, part Lost. So they're on an island then. I mean, I get that they're two different things, but I feel like that's like saying part predator and part alien. We get it. There's a monster hunting them. You know.
And the monster's them.
Similar things. Anyway, part Lord of the Flies and part Lost. The story: the teenagers are forced into survival mode. Relationships evolve and bonds are made with the hope of being rescued dimmed each day.
See, I understand the comparison to Lord of the Flies pretty clearly.
Lost makes it imply that there's maybe something else on the island that they'll discover when they're there.
Yeah, there's some extra mystery to go along with it, right?
It'll publish in the spring of 2019. So clearly this is one of these. Again, we've seen this a lot recently. They're picking up rights to books before they're even published. They're getting manuscripts and they're saying, "Hey, this can make a movie. We can develop this at the same time." Yeah. I guess I get the appeal of it. It's like the book. If the book comes out as a hit and you've got the movie ready to go within a year because you were already working on it. Yeah,
it's in the zeitgeist.
I get why they want to do that. Now, as a fan of Lost, obviously I'm like, okay, you're going to have to compare it to that. You're going to have to convince me of this. Does Lord of the Flies imply a very dark conclusion to this? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Lord of the Flies, and the idea, the tribalism and how it breaks down the society, and so if it can do some of that stuff and adding a Lost-esque mystery,
I feel like
this could be a very compelling
because it's teenagers, I'm getting the sense this is going to be something that they want to appeal to teenagers as well, though. So I'm going to assume it's not going to be that dark. That's just my guess. It doesn't say it's an adult thing or anything like that. I'm just reading between the lines and making an assumption.
I can see what you're getting.
I mean, there's a potential there. I have no idea what the focus of the book is in terms of tone. I mean, no one does really because it's not out yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
But hey, curious. Next up, the Yogi Bear director and Total Recall visual effects special achievement Oscar winner.
What a sentence.
Doesn't even tell me his name.
Right, okay, hang on. We can't have this story.
The Yogi Bear director, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, the one from 2010?
I assume so.
Eric.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me. This is weird. It must have been a different part of the article I didn't copy, which means it's phrased because I feel like it's leading up to it, right?
Yeah. No, this is the guy.
So he's going to direct a movie called Cops and Robots, which is based on a script by Madison Perry. Tells me his name. The project tells the story of old school cop Ian Williams, who has partnered with James Johnson, the world's first android police officer. The two must learn to work together to prevent being replaced by newer models. Ian by a younger cop and James by Deborah Walker, a 2.0 version superior to him in every way. I'm getting a bit of comedy here, action comedy as opposed to a serious sci-fi about robots.
Yeah, that sounds kind of fun, though.
Sounds like a Fox pilot.
It does, but we say a lot that those Fox pilots could be a good, hour and a half movie.
That makes a lot of sense.
Just I'm looking at his page here now. He has 4 credits as a director. 1, an episode of Xena.
A quality show. People like that show.
2, Journey to the Center of the Earth.
The Rock had charm. It
3,
worked. Oh, he was in the second one. He wasn't in the first one, was he? Brendan Fraser, I think, was in that first one. I don't know. I never saw it.
Right. 3 was the Adventure to the Center of the Earth video game, which is presumably the tie-in to that movie. And then 4 was Yogi Bear, and that's it.
What an illustrious career.
Yes. To be fair, lots of good visual effects credits. Good. You got Total Recall, Men in Black, Pearl Harbor.
Oh, okay,
90.
Cool. So he's been at it for a while then. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah. No, I mean, his visual effects credits go back to like 85.
Okay. All right. Well, that actually takes us on to the horror movie section of the week. And we got something, it's kind of speculative, but it's kind of juicy at the same time because it's a big deal franchise-wise. So last October, Leatherface came out. That was the prequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That franchise is a mess of
It is an absolute mess. Every time it comes up, I have to say this, but yes, they had the original, then they had 2 sequels, then they had like a semi-reboot with the 4th one, which kind of implied that there was a secret government agency that was enlisting the family to do this out of some sort of experiment. I don't know, insane. And then they had the remake, and then they had the prequel to the remake, and then they had Texas Chainsaw 3D, which was a sequel to the original. So ignored the sequels, ignored the remake and the prequel to the remake. It was a direct sequel to the original, which honestly is my favourite one after the original. That one, it's a dumb movie, but it's a blast. It's got, it's just fun. And then they did Leatherface, which was a prequel to the original. So we've been all over the place. So that came out, but even by the time that came out, the rights to the franchise had reverted to the writer and producer of the original, Kim Henkel, and he owns the rights, and it's looking for a new home apparently. And Bloody Disgusting horror website are.
Is it Blumhouse?
Actually, no. Although that would be funny. No. So Bloody Disgusting are reporting that Legendary Entertainment / Legendary Pictures are in the mix to pick it up, and they want to develop apparently not only a movie but a TV show.
No, one of these deals.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I don't know why they keep doing and promising these deals. They never happen.
But with or without Legendary, apparently a movie and a TV show are kind of what's on the card. Apparently that's maybe what Henkel or whatever's putting out there. Yeah.
Looking at getting. Yeah. Okay.
So here's some just rampant speculation from Bloody Disgusting. But I think it's a fun thing to mention, is that if Legendary do get it, Legendary are actually, they've just left Universal to go back to Warner Brothers, and it's worth mentioning that Warner Brothers happen to own both Freddy Krueger and soon will have the rights back to Jason Voorhees.
A little bit of a
it's not the first time this has happened. Lionsgate had all three of them. Not Lionsgate. New Line Cinema had all three of them at one point in the 90s. But they're only speculating this because Legendary are doing the monster movies. They're doing the Godzilla, King Kong. It's like, oh, what if they want to do it with that? And if they work with New Line at Warner Brothers, where they're going to be a part of, like, and I think it's just pure speculation. I don't think there's any actual teasing to even imply that that's something that's on the cards.
I don't think it would be what would happen first. I think they'd establish it maybe in 5 years.
I don't know what a good Texas Chainsaw movie looks like now. I really don't. Like, I love Texas Chainsaw 3D in a really sort of goofy B-movie way, and I love it as that, and I would happily take more of that. But I don't think that's what they're aiming for. I feel like they...
What intrigues me is, what does a Texas Chainsaw TV show look like? Week to week, what is that show?
I feel like you have to have some sort of detective or something hunting the family, right?
Yeah.
Because the family as the main characters would be infuriatingly annoying. They can't be the leads. They have to be the ones you see occasionally, and they're the threat.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. Unless it's something more offshoot that's not directly what the movies are, but it's like set in the world.
Could be, yeah.
And then that could be something. I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't.
No. I'm just intrigued because it's clearly what they're looking at, but I've still have no idea what that looks like.
Who knows? But a fun bit of speculation, as you do. So no. Where are we next then? Oh, here we go. So, Platinum Dunes have got Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan, and they're the producers behind A Quiet Place, and they have pitched a script to Platinum Dunes. It's untitled, and it's been kept on the down low, but apparently it's said to be in the vein of I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream. So we're going for postmodern, self-referential horror, by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
And it's also been referred to as an untitled holiday film, so it seems like it might be set at Christmas as well. So we're getting a variety.
A little bit less interested, but okay.
You're less. Everyone else on the planet is more interested by that. You're the only one who's less interested. Because you're some sort of anti-Christmas weirdo. But hey, we have this. So it is worth mentioning though, as much as they produced A Quiet Place, which of course was very good and did very well, what they actually have written was 3 Saw movies. They also wrote a script called Rate Your Stay at Lionsgate and The Wrecking at Paramount, both of which have not come out yet. So I mean, maybe they've gotten good.
Maybe they can recognize talent but don't
Maybe,
actually have any.
or maybe they're just confined by like because they didn't rate the first Saw movies because that was
No, they're just
yeah they
okay.
had to
Here's
just
the
fit to
brand.
what the movies were. So maybe that's
Yeah, yeah. Wait and see these other
yeah.
ones and then
So,
judge.
but hey, no, I mean, it's, a movie like Scream, and I know what we did last summer. Yeah, I mean, I like Scream last summer, not so much, but we could see what they do.
We haven't had any of that style of horror in a while though. That I can not
Yeah.
anything big that I can think of.
So no. Hey, maybe they can get Sarah Michelle Gellar back to reprise her role, despite the fact she died. And I know what we did last summer. Of course, she was on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That was cheap. That was
Hey, they
cheap, and you
mentioned the
know it.
movie, not me.
You realize shit. We're getting to the end of the video. If we're in the horror section, there's only a couple more stories. How am I going to get this in here? Oh, thank God, it's there.
She should have done more horror because she did that and she did The Grudge. I'm like, you could have done more horror. You could have become a Scream Queen. And she didn't quite do
could
it.
have.
No, that made it just as simple as that. So next up, CBS Films revealed that Zoe Colletti is going to star in Andre Overdal's adaptation of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is being produced by Guillermo del Toro. Now, she's a young actress, she's like a kid. But the notable thing here is that up until now, we knew that del Toro was producing this movie and we knew who the director was. It's obviously based on the series, I think, books is what this is. But we now actually have some buzz about what the plot is, what the premise of this one is.
Oh, okay.
So Colette plays a young girl named Stella Michaels, who's still haunted by her mother's disappearance on Halloween night, an incident that she suspects her father knows more about than he lets on. Years later, Stella and her friends are involved in a Halloween prank gone wrong, but are they really at fault, or was it the work of a vengeful spirit, a female ghost who uses her scary stories to come after the teens when they begin to investigate the disappearance of several children? So there's missing kids, there's teenagers investigating it, it's set in Halloween. It sounds like fun. Yeah.
As a ghost.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah,
Apparently, those who have read the script say the film will feature the human scarecrow from Harold, which is one of the stories from the books, I think, and the girl who has spiders crawl out of her face in the red spot. Both
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, both of which
way
appear
possible.
in Scary Stories 3, More Tales to Chill Your Bones. So it seems like they're taking different things from various books in the series. So yeah.
The
They did
approach.
update this though by saying it's possible that the info is from a previous draft, so maybe some of this stuff might have changed a bit by the time the film comes out. But
okay.
Interesting all the same. I think the fact that it's set in Halloween and obviously the casting's not going to change. That's not based on a previous draft. But
Really
hey,
hope not.
that sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah, it does.
I'm game. I'm actually more game because Del Toro's not directing it, because I'm kind of more missed than I am hit with the Del Toro, and I'm in the minority here. I'm the weird one, but
I'm all over the place with him. Some of the, Shape of Water I love.
oh god,
I love it. Go back to the Crimson
God.
Peak. Not really. I don't ever want to watch that
I hate
again.
Crimson Peak. I don't like Shape of Water much more, to be honest, though.
Oh, I love that one. That's the thing. I'm so hit or miss.
The ones I like are the ones that everyone else thinks is his weakest. It's Pacific Rim and Mimic. Those are the ones that I like. Everyone else is like, no, Devil's Backbone and all these films.
I like
Pan's
his
Labyrinth.
Hellboy too, because it feels like his movie it's less Hellboy, but it's one of his movies.
I remember liking that at the time, although trying to watch it
I'll be honest, I haven't watched it in a
couple
while.
years ago,
So.
I actually turned it off after 20 minutes.
Well, I'm sure we'll be doing it soon.
Oh, that's right, yeah, there's a new Hellboy movie in January. Shit. That's right.
Yeah, so over the next couple of months we'll dig out those older ones. I'm sure.
Okay. I was thinking of the wrong movie. I was thinking of Blade 2. I haven't tried to watch Hellboy 2 since it came out.
Oh.
Blade 2 I tried watching a couple of years
Right.
ago and turned it off after 20 minutes. Hellboy 1 and 2 I was never really that into from the get-go.
Okay. I like them both, but Hellboy 2 is a bit more. Okay, this is the fantastical.
Yeah, Blade
Del
2 is
Toro
directed by
movie
Del Toro, just for the record. It's not a complete random pull of something else.
Yeah.
I've read one trade of Hellboy and really liked it. So the tone and the dark, brooding nature of the comics, I really like, and I think that's completely missing. The villains are terrible in the movie. I just, it's.
I think that the tone's closer in the first one, but it wasn't really there. So in the second one, he just kind of went, "Screw it, it's not working. Let's just make it one of my movies." I love how Lovecraftian
it feels in the comic, and it's just missing
fair.
in the movie. So, anyway, that is actually the last news item of the week. So. That takes us on to the end of the show, which, if we have watched any movies that were for review purposes, we can briefly give some thoughts. I don't know if you've watched any, Connor.
I have. I'm just double checking which ones I've watched, but I know I've watched a couple. Here we go. So, still trying to chip away an extra couple of movies for the foreign language countdown that we've got coming up in a week or two. I don't know. I've lost track of time. I don't know when I am.
This week, you idiot.
This week. Well, okay, this week for patrons.
Yes.
Yes, so week after for YouTube.
Yes, we're recording it in a couple of days, which means you have to work in your list, basically, is what I'm saying.
I do, but that's Thursday's problem. So I watched Infernal Affairs, the movie from Hong Kong.
Indeed, yes. It is the superior film which The Departed is based on.
Which I never saw, so I thought, I get to.
I saw it first. I saw this before The Departed was even made. So
that's cool.
So I went into The Departed like, okay, justify your existence, and then they threw Mark Wahlberg at me, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this. This is, you got the cops versus this gang. And they've both got moles on each other's crews, and there's a lot of playing back and forth. Undercover cop is often
the cop will be referred to. You don't typically think of the undercover cop as a mole, even though technically, it's the same thing, but still.
Look, I was just for simplicity's sake, but it's a lot of fun. It's got a very early 2000s style with the cuts that I wasn't really expect. It's been a while since I've watched a movie with that style to it.
I can see it.
I kind of don't mind it. It's one of those styles. I'm like, oh yeah,
in the right movies, it can work. I'm not necessarily against that. It's like not that common anymore. Yeah,
gone. Yeah. No, I'm with you, but it was almost like a little touch of nostalgia.
That's fair. That's like just to compare it to. Obviously, there's movie things like this as well. With movies, it's like whenever I watch a sci-fi movie that was made a while ago, and all the future technology still CRT TVs, like they've got hand scanners, but it's a CRT. I get really nostalgic with that. I like that. It's cool. Same with video games. Yeah,
and all the green.
Whenever
text,
I play a game from like the PS1 era, and it's got like pre-rendered like backgrounds, like fixed cameras, I get super nostalgic about that because obviously I grew up in Resident Evil. I love those games. But even like trying Final Fantasy VII for the first time, I was like, oh, I like these backgrounds. These are like proper PS1 backgrounds.
Yeah. It's not necessarily something that you have to have experienced in itself. I'd never watched this movie before.
Yes.
But just the style kind of evoked
like,
that too.
Playing Dino Crisis for the first time this year, it was like, oh, this is like an old school PS1 game. I'm digging the cheesiness of it.
Yeah.
Watch anything else?
That was a blast. Yeah, I did. I watched one other thing, which is a Touch of Zen. And this is a wuxia epic from Taiwan.
Wuxia epic.
And yes, I say epic because it's 3 hours long and was originally released in 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, this is from, I want to say 1970, 71.
Well, I wasn't expecting
the 2 parts.
Movie. I thought it was going to be much more recent than that.
No, this is like 70, 71 with the 2 parts respectively. And it's super slow paced in like a really good way. Like there's no martial arts at all until like 50 minutes in.
Okay.
Like not even. It
makes you wait for it. It builds up to it,
and then it does. It's okay. So there's this character, and he lives in the village, and the first like hour of the film, more or less, is this drama stuff of his life, and these characters that come in, the neighbors that move in across to the house across the way, and it becomes this bit of a conspiracy of, okay, no, this girl's actually being hunted by the Emperor, and there's a bit of she's got to get coming. And there's someone hunting for her that's going around town trying to figure out where she is. But it's really interesting in that the main character is not a martial artist in any way. He doesn't get involved in any of the fighting until maybe 2/3 through the movie. It's all just these characters around him pulling all the weight, and he's kind of just there. And it's not until a pivotal moment for his character where he finally chooses to get involved. It's really good. It's gorgeous. There's a fantastic sequence in a bamboo forest that just stands out as visually amazing.
Interesting. I was not familiar with this one in particular.
This is one I basically just stumbled across, and I read the description. It was like a one sentence description that you get on the streaming services, and I went, yeah, okay, that sounds interesting. I'll start watching that. It took me to I realized that, hang on, I haven't really got time for a 3-hour movie, so I did a quick Google and found where the breaking point was of the original cuts, and went, that'll do for tonight.
Yeah, no, that sounds interesting. Usually the movies you bring that I've not heard of, I usually just sleep through your description because they sound boring and not to my liking. This sounds intriguing.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Yeah, so cool. I actually did watch a movie. I actually watched 2 movies this week. Yeah, look at me go.
Oh, did you?
I watched a movie because it finally popped up on one of the streaming services, Compliance, that I'd been meaning to check out for a long time, ever since I heard about it. It's based on a true story, and it's about this thing that really happened in more than one place, actually, but specifically the one that it's based on is a guy calls a fast food restaurant. I don't know if they used the real fast food restaurant or if it was a chained one that they just made up one for the movie, but they phone a fast food restaurant and convince the manager that one of the girls who works there is wanted by the police. Says he's a police officer, and makes the manager detain her in the back office, and then keeps making her, keep her there, search her things, that kind of stuff, and it keeps escalating, and it gets really uncomfortable. It gets really kind of slimy when he forces certain things to happen, and somehow convinces people to take part. He makes a strip searcher, for example, and then it escalates from there. And there's a very unnerving.
Sounds like
it's very
uncomfortable,
especially in the back half. It gets very uncomfortable, and I think there was a risk. I wanted to see it because I was curious how it was handled, but there was always the risk it was going to turn into just shock value after shock value without anything to say. One of the things, knowing the premise before I went in, that made me really like the early stuff was paying close attention to what he said and how he manipulated them into thinking he had more information than he did. That was one of the things, because one of the first things he just describes it, because he'd clearly been to the restaurant, right, and seen her. He's like, there's a girl who works out at the front, blonde hair, blah blah, and then the manager eventually says, Rebecca, and he says, we've got her down as Rebecca, and it's just phrasing it that way makes it sound more official. We've got her down as this, and I'm like, that was sneaky, that was tricky, and you kind of watch for the things that he says that convinces things. And I think what makes it work, and what I think makes it a pretty solid movie, first of all, the acting is very good. Ann Dowd's the manager from Handmaid's Tale and Leftovers. She's very good.
She is excellent.
The main girl who's the victim, I'd recognised her face and I didn't know what she was from. I had to look her up. She was the regular roommate in Don't Trust the Bitch in Apartment 23. If you ever...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you ever saw that.
A couple of episodes of that.
She was in that.
I know you're on.
Funny enough, there's another actor from The Leftovers in it. The guy who played... that's just kind of spoilers for The Leftovers. For lack of a better word, the guy who played God in The Leftovers. Now, if you've not seen The Leftovers, there's not really God. It makes sense if you watch it, what I mean by this. But he's in it as well.
Cool.
So it gets very uncomfortable and very, very tense throughout. But I think what makes it work is the idea of people. Obviously, it's called compliance. It's about them just going along with what they're told. This idea that if you think someone's got authority, you'll just keep doing what they're saying until a point. And what I liked about it is that ultimately, when it eventually ends, there's a character who you basically see as a hero, and all that character does is say no. They think about what's been asked of them and they say no, and you feel like cheering that someone finally said no. It doesn't matter who this is wrong, and that really works. But the end of the movie has this really poignant kind of message. I think it's very hard hitting, but it does have a bit more of a. I think it's a study of human behavior in an extreme situation, and because there's several points where you go like, it couldn't have went this far. There's no way this kept going like this. Like there's a point where you say no.
Yeah.
This doesn't go any further than that. They have to like realize they're being pranked or whatever, and it keeps going. And there's a point where it becomes there's a sexual assault element to it, and it's like the character involved must have ultimately liked what he was doing to go along with it.
Yeah, it reminds me of the classic experiment of if you tell if you're in a position of authority and you've got someone there that you tell them, oh, this person's a criminal. This button here will give them an electric shock. Now press it for me, right? And you tell them that every time you press it, it gets a stronger shock. And it's not really doing a shock; it's just someone acting, right? But how long will they go before they say, "No, I'm not going to press it anymore. This is getting out of line." It's way further than you think. It is the sad truth.
So, no, it's an interesting. It's a very uncomfortable watch, but it's a very interesting watch, and I think it handles it with a decent amount of tact. By the end, I felt like it had something to say beyond just, oh, here's a shocking movie where you're uncomfortable the entire time. So that was Compliance. And the other end of the spectrum, I watched Rampage, starring The Rock. This was forgettable action fluff that did not have. It took itself way too seriously for what it was. And honestly was kind of boring and did almost nothing for me.
Really? It was boring? That's not what I would have expected from it.
If I was rating, I'd give Compliance an 8. We don't normally rate these at the end of this, but if I'm rating Rampage, it's getting like a 4. I was bored.
Wow, okay. That's disappointing. The trailers didn't make it look like
the CGI
it
wasn't
good.
even that great, given it's like a big budget, Hollywood movie. I mean, The Rock's got charm, and The Rock always has charm, but everything else around him just feels so cookie cutter.
I have a genuine question here. How is it possible to make a movie with a giant flying wolf boring?
Because the monsters aren't that interesting or do that much that's exciting. It's just kind of general destruction stuff. And then the villains are so bad. Like, it's this brother and sister, like, these rich people who like funded these experiments, and they're just these comical, like the sister's evil and the brother's kind of just this goofball who's always eating cheeseburgers and
added to the ranks of awful video game adaptations.
I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just painfully uninteresting and forgettable.
Does it still have a higher Rotten Tomatoes score than Tomb Raider? Oh, it did when it came out, and The Rock was like, "Oh, look, we're the best one."
I would say I like Tomb Raider more than this. I would say that.
Yeah, I know you didn't love Tomb Raider, but you sounded, from just the way I've heard you speak about them both, you were more positive on Tomb. Yeah, so Tomb Raider has 51% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Rampage has 53%.
Yeah, I'm not buying that 50+%.
They have the same average rating of 5.4 out of 10.
I do not recommend Rampage. Even Matt was disappointed, and this was made for Matt.
Yeah, that is such a Matt movie.
So, yeah, can't recommend Rampage. Not good. So, hey ho, that's the end of the show. We'll close it out on that. So, let us know what you thought about all the news and stuff. Oh, we should tell you what's coming up, actually, in terms of reviews and what's just went up. So,
we should.
Coming up this week, patrons will be getting Overload early this week. Matt's film on that is called The Ghost in the Darkness. You can check out that if you're a patron later this week. The following week, of course, if you're just on YouTube. You can, of course, Screams After Midnight. This past week, we did a new film called Down a Dark Hall, which is stars Uma Thurman. So maybe worth checking that out. This coming week will be the Patreon winner of the month, The Hearse. That's going out on Wednesday, on the usual day. So you can check out that. Influx, we had Women in the Dunes go out publicly this week on YouTube, whereas patrons got the 7 Seal, which was the Patreon winner for Influx for the month. So
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
That
it
was
was a Vault. You're right.
Vault.
What was the vote winner this month?
The vote winner was
there
Woman
you
in the
go.
Dunes.
Sure enough.
And I remember because when we went to record the Woman in the Dunes video, you introed it as a Vault pick, and I had to correct
okay.
you
I've
like
been
30 seconds
swapping what's a
inside.
Vault and what's a Patreon vote. They're in the same ballpark, all right. They're in the same ballpark. So that's the movies, the reviews.
Two very good movies back to back.
So yeah, look out for those. And there's new movies coming out soon, which we'll finally be making some theater trips soon. But
do you know what the patrons will be getting for Influx this week?
We just did it.
Is that
I guess actually it may not be. I might put up the countdown first. No, I'll go up first. No, Predators is going up. Yes, Predators is happening. That's the Patreon early one for Friday this week.
Yes, it has to, so it's out at a reasonable time before the new one.
Yes, Predators is going out on Friday. So you can look forward to that. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. Get us on patreon.com/MaileFuzzTV. Of course, we mentioned you get stuff early, you get to vote on stuff, but ultimately you get to feel warm and fuzzy because you're supporting everything we do and keeping us going and keeping the reviews coming. You can do that for as little as $1 a month. And of course, if you can't do that, watch ads on YouTube. That does help as well. You can do that instead. Like, subscribe, all the usual things. All of it does help. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching movies, guys, and we'll see you next time.